All right. I just want to finish up a point that I was making last time about the last line of Ecce Homo Wise 5. And it is this line. If a God came to earth, he should do nothing but wrong, assuming not the punishment but the guilt. That would be divine. Clearly, this sentence is squarely in the revaluation project. It unseats the Christian God of Jesus with a revised concept of God. In the revised concept, revalued concept of God, God is the being who should always be in the wrong, who should take upon himself not the punishment, but the guilt. Why? What could that mean? The context of this section is that Nietzsche is resisting situations of retaliation. Oh, if anything, any piece of stupidity, nonsense comes my way, I will retaliate, you may be sure of that, as soon as I find an opportunity for expressing my thanks to the wrongdoer, in some cases even for the wrongdoing. This is a text about retaliation because Nietzsche, as the heir of a epigenome from his father that created in him, he says, an overall lack of life force, Nietzsche suffers from the compulsive desire to strike back in retaliation. That compulsive desire to strike back in retaliation is the feeling content of what he phenomenologically describes as being already dead. They are the same. For someone with a compulsive desire to strike back, being in the midst of everyday life will present challenges because there are lots of opportunities to want to strike back. However, Nietzsche must master all of those situations, otherwise the weakness of being already dead will intensify the more he allows himself to be under the influence of feelings of retaliation, the less alive he becomes. This section here, at the end of, in section 5 of Ecce Homo, this last of Ecce Homo Wise, in this last sentence, it shows you how he has unraveled the psychology of wanting to strike back. How has he done that? The psychology involved here is essentially the psychology of the Christian. After all, Christian psychology is centered on the thought of a supremely innocent being having been punished. A great wrong was done to Jesus, as measured by his supreme innocence. Unless Christianity focuses on this concept of the great wrong done to the supremely innocent Jesus, it really has no, that's kind of its frenzy. It has nothing to exercise itself over. It has nothing to chew on. What it loves more than anything is the frenzy of the injustice to the innocent Jesus. What Nietzsche has done is undermine that frenzy by reversing the psychology of retaliation faced with being done a wrong. Instead, Nietzsche faces the existence of the wrong. How? He says, oh my heavens, wrong? No such thing. As of course there are no such things, nor are there such things as innocence, nor are there such things as guilt, nor is there such a thing as punishment. Those are illusions that we create, and they are cathected with psychopathology, especially innocence and guilt and wrongdoing. Here, mostly, I'm thinking about innocence and wrongdoing. Nietzsche obliterates the category of wrong by saying, oh my heavens, no wrong was done to me whatsoever. Rather, it's the case that I am in the wrong. Oh, excuse me, wrongdoer. Let me revisit the issue of entrenching myself as entitled not to be wronged. Now, let me see. If I seek to master the feelings of retaliation for having been wronged, the maximal psychology that I can devise to myself that reverses that entrenchment, reverses the frenzy of being an innocent wronged, is to take upon myself the guilt for the wrongdoing. Oh my heavens, no, there was no wrong whatsoever. I obliterate the wrong, and hence the wrongdoing, from the world. I am the guilty party. I offer you my guilt as a gracious gift of thankfulness. Why? What sense does any of that make? Is it because he's good? No. Is it because it's ethical, moral? There are no moral categories here in the conventional sense. Nietzsche's moral psychology is the reversal of the Christian moral psychology. As someone having inherited the epigenetics of his father, such as of a weakened life, which in some way I feel confident Nietzsche did, the reversal of the compulsion to strike back is life-creating. Nietzsche devised the psychology of taking upon himself the guilt, the wrong, for the wrong done him. I am in the wrong, is a fabrication, since there is no actuality to wrong and innocence to begin with. Period. End of Christianity. Poof. I take upon myself the wrong, and in so doing, I am creating life in myself. And only for that reason do I do it. Not because it's good, not because it's gracious, or none of those things. All of those, any concept of good that I might find in Nietzsche's philosophy, what is good, all it enhances the feeling of power. Any concept of Dankbarkeit, thankfulness, graciousness that I find in Nietzsche is all only an afterthought to the idea of having created life in myself. So that's the point here. And the God, of course, we really are not in the infantilism any longer, I hope, of talking about Nietzsche. Oh, he thought he was God. God, as we know from Zarathustra, is a metaphor for the new nobility. The word God here only occurs in this context because it has the point of making the contrast between Jesus. The new noble come to earth should take upon himself the guilt. That would be divine. It would be the divinity of Dionysus. Now, in this section, I believe that this is the first time in human history, and recorded human history, or as part of the human history that counts, that we can count. That's part of our recorded civilization. Here, for the first time, the epigenetic self is cracked, in the form of having cracked the weakening of life that came to him through, which is still possesses him in the form of his epigenetic father. Here, for the first time, through that chink, we can see the future of being, of overflowing life that perhaps we can become. To say it again, detractors of Ecce Homo really need to learn how to read. To say it again, unless Nietzsche is taken out of the hands of philosophers, I don't think there's any hope for understanding it.